I thought I had buried her memory forever, until that single phone call on a quiet Thursday night shattered 3 years of hard-earned peace and forced me to face the woman who once destroyed me for being poor. I hadn't seen Emily in almost 3 years when her name suddenly lit up my phone on that quiet Thursday night. The house was silent, just the ticking of the old wall clock and the faint hum of the refrigerator in the background. My heart slammed against my ribs like a storm breaking loose inside my chest. For a long moment, I just stared at the glowing screen, my thumb hovering over the answer button as memories flooded back so fast they nearly knocked the breath out of me. I remembered the way we ended, not with dramatic rain, but on a cold, ordinary evening in my small, cramped apartment. Back then I was struggling financially, working 2 exhausting jobs just to make ends meet, barely affording groceries some weeks. Emily had said she loved me 1,000 times, but when the pressures of real life grew heavier, she couldn't see a future with someone who was still so poor. She left me for a wealthier man, someone who could give her the comfortable life, fancy dinners, branded clothes, and financial security she thought she needed. The breakup was devastating. I watched her walk away with her suitcase, my heart shattered into pieces, promising myself I would never let anyone hurt me like that again. That pain became my fuel. I threw myself into work like a madman, built my small business step by step, learned to invest wisely, took risks, and slowly turned my life around. I was no longer the struggling, broke guy she had once left behind. But her voice, when I finally answered, was trembling, fragile, almost desperate. Can you come drive me home?" she asked softly, a slight crack in her words that I hadn't heard in years. Against every ounce of logic screaming in my head, the warnings about protecting my healed heart, the nights I spent convincing myself I was over her, the anger I had carried for so long, I said yes. When she slid into the passenger seat of my car, the air between us grew thick and heavy with everything we'd left unsaid. The scent of her perfume, still the same soft vanilla and rain, hit me like a powerful wave from the past. She looked older now, tired around the eyes with faint lines that spoke of sleepless nights and broken dreams, but still so achingly beautiful. Her hair fell in loose waves the way I remembered from our college days. We drove in silence at first, the wipers cutting through the light drizzle, streetlights casting moving shadows across her face. The radio played low, an old love song we used to sing together at the top of our voices. I gripped the wheel tightly, stealing glances at her, wondering what storm had brought her back into my life after all this time. Finally, I pulled up in front of her parents' house. The porch light was on, casting a warm yellow glow. But she didn't get out. She just sat there, staring at me with tears glistening in her eyes, and whispered words that cracked open everything I thought I'd buried deep inside. Suddenly, I was pulled back into the past, the memories playing like an old film reel in my mind. I remembered the exact moment we met in college, the crowded freshman orientation hall filled with nervous chatter, the smell of cheap coffee and new notebooks. She had spilled her drink on her notes, laughed at herself without any embarrassment, and that bright, genuine laugh echoed across the room, lighting up everything around her like sunshine. From that very day, she became my everything. We spent countless hours in the library pretending to study, but mostly whispering and talking about life. We stayed up until dawn on the dorm rooftop, wrapped in one thin blanket, sharing dreams. A small cozy house with a creaky porch swing overlooking green fields, noisy and joyful Sunday dinners with my loud, loving family, kids running around the backyard chasing fireflies on summer evenings, lazy weekends where we'd cook messy pasta together and dance barefoot in the kitchen to our favorite playlists. We talked about marriage like it was inevitable, the simple ring I would save up for, the personal vows we would write ourselves, growing old side by side with gray hair and a lifetime of shared stories. I could picture it so clearly, her helping my mom in the kitchen, me cheering her on at every step. But when real life hit and my financial struggles became obvious, the late rent payments, the worn-out clothes, the simple dates, she grew distant and restless. She wanted stability, luxury, and an easier life, things I couldn't provide at that time. She left me for another man, a rich guy who promised her the world on a silver platter. I was completely heartbroken, cried for weeks in private, but I used that deep pain as motivation to work harder than ever. I built my business from nothing, invested every extra penny, faced failures and successes, and eventually became financially stable and successful, no longer the poor boy she had abandoned. Now here she was, years later. She turned to me in the car, her voice breaking as she confessed everything through heavy sobs. "I never stopped thinking about you," she said, tears falling freely down her cheeks. "I made the biggest mistake of my life leaving you because of money, because I was scared of struggling and being poor. I married him thinking he would give me everything comfortable, but he never truly loved me. He treated me like a trophy or an accessory, showed me off, but when things got even slightly tough, he left me without a second thought. I realized too late that all the money, luxury cars, and big houses in the world couldn't replace the real love and care we once had. She missed the real, pure love we shared, the genuine laughter, the way I cared for her even when we had very little, the warmth of our simple moments. She missed the lively Sunday dinners at my mom's house where everyone talked over each other, plates piled high with home-cooked food, laughter until sides hurt. She missed our late-night talks when she was stressed, my silly jokes and impressions that always made her laugh, even on her worst days. She cried harder, almost shaking, begging me again and again. I was blind. I chose everything wrong. Please forgive me. We sat in that car for hours as the drizzle turned into steady rain, the world outside completely fading away. We talked about all the painful what-ifs that had haunted our sleepless nights. What if she had stayed and trusted our love? What if I had fought harder to keep her? The deep regrets that followed us both, the fear of repeating old mistakes. She reached for my hand across the console, and when our fingers touched, it felt electric, familiar, warm, safe, like finally coming home after years of wandering in a cold, empty world. Tears kept rolling down her cheeks as she begged in a broken voice, "Please don't lose me again. Give us one more chance. I can't live without you." I sat there quietly for a long time, watching her cry. Those same tears that once broke me into pieces were now slowly melting the thick walls I had built around my heart. I had become successful and financially secure, but success without her by my side had started to feel empty and meaningless. In that moment, with the rain tapping gently on the car roof like a soothing rhythm, I realized a powerful truth. Love isn't about perfection, money, status, or luxury. It's about choosing each other even when life gets incredibly messy and painful. True love doesn't care about poverty or wealth. A person may be poor in money, but if he respects you, loves you deeply with all his heart, and genuinely cares for your happiness and well-being, then he is richer than any millionaire. Money and poverty have no real place in authentic love. What truly matters is the person's character, their loyalty, honesty, and the depth of their heart. I squeezed her hand back tightly, my own voice thick with emotion as I finally spoke. "I forgive you, Emily. Not because I forgot the pain you caused me, but because your tears are real this time, and our love was always true from the beginning. I never stopped loving you either, not even for a single day. Money can buy many things in life, but it can't buy the peace, the joy, and the home I feel when I'm with you." From that night forward, we tried again, slowly, carefully, and tenderly, like rebuilding a beautiful house after a destructive storm, one careful brick at a time. We started with small, hesitant steps, quiet dinners with my family where my mom cried happy tears the moment she saw Emily walk through the door again, pulling her into a long, tight hug like she had never left. My dad teased me endlessly about finally getting the girl back after all these years, sharing old funny stories from my childhood that made Emily laugh until tears of joy came. My nieces and nephews clung to her like she was their favorite aunt who had magically returned from a long journey. We took many long walks through the old park where we used to go in college, holding hands tightly, talking openly about the old wounds, deep insecurities, past mistakes, and lingering fears. We faced many hard and honest conversations late into the nights, the doubts that crept in, the painful memories of her leaving me for someone richer, the hurt from her failed marriage to the other man. But every single time tension or old pain rose between us, we reminded ourselves why we were fighting so hard for this relationship, because a real, deep love like ours doesn't come around twice in a lifetime. 6 months later, I stood in front of her house again. This time I wasn't dropping her off. I was picking her up for our wedding rehearsal. She walked out in a simple, elegant white dress that flowed gently around her like a soft cloud, smiling through happy tears, her eyes shining with the same beautiful light I had fallen in love with years ago. As I took her hand and helped her into the car, kissing her knuckles softly, I knew deep in my soul that that rainy night in the car wasn't just a reunion. It was the true beginning of our forever. The days, weeks, and months that followed were filled with the beautiful, warm chaos of rebuilding a shared life together. Family dinners quickly became weekly traditions again, full of laughter, stories, and love. My father told endless old embarrassing stories about me that made Emily laugh until she cried. Quiet nights on the porch swing became our sacred time, wrapped in thick blankets, sipping warm tea or coffee, planning our future dreams together, maybe a mountain trip or adopting a playful dog. Mornings where she made coffee exactly the way I liked it, strong with a hint of cinnamon, and teased me lovingly about my messy bed hair and sleepy face. Afternoons spent walking through the neighborhood hand in hand, with neighbors smiling knowingly at us, and some even stopping to say how happy they were to see us together again after everything. There were still moments when doubt tried to creep in, old fears of abandonment, small arguments over silly, everyday things like whose turn it was to do dishes or where to spend the holidays. But those moments were always gently chased away by the warmth of her hand in mine, by her bright laughter filling the room like the most beautiful music, and by the way she looked at me like I was still her favorite person in the entire world. We rebuilt trust slowly, brick by brick, with patience and honesty. She supported my growing business with fresh ideas and encouragement. I supported her dreams and career goals fully. We learned to compromise beautifully, planning exciting trips to her favorite places and quiet, peaceful weekends in Ohio where we could breathe and reconnect with family and our roots. On our wedding day, the sun shone bright and warm as if blessing us. She walked down the aisle in a stunning gown that shimmered like pure hope itself, her eyes locked on mine the entire way, tears of pure joy in both our eyes. My heart pounded wildly with love as I said vows that felt carved into eternity, promises to choose her every single day, through every mess, every joy, every richness or hardship that life might bring. The kiss that sealed our marriage wasn't just a kiss. It was a powerful second chance at a full and happy life, full of all the lost years and all the beautiful years still to come. Family and friends applauded like thunder, cheering loudly and wiping happy tears. Our first dance felt like floating on air, her head resting on my shoulder as the whole world disappeared around us. Later that night, in a quiet moment alone under the stars, she whispered softly that she was finally home. I whispered back that I was too, completely and forever. The years that followed were not perfect, but they were beautifully, deeply, and undeniably ours. We welcomed 3 wonderful children, 2 energetic boys and a sweet little girl, who filled our home with nonstop noise, endless laughter, sticky fingerprints everywhere, and the purest kind of joy. I watched Emily grow into the most loving, caring, and patient mother, reading bedtime stories with funny voices, bandaging scraped knees after playtime, and dancing wildly in the living room with them to silly songs. Our careers grew and shifted, promotions, new challenges, and successes, but we always fiercely protected our time together, making date nights and family rituals sacred. There were, of course, real heartbreaks and tough seasons too. Parenting stresses during teenage years, business ups and downs, health worries, and everyday struggles. But there were far more incredible triumphs. Watching our kids take their first wobbly steps, their school plays where we cheered the loudest, memorable family vacations where we recreated our old college road trips with the kids in tow, laughing at all the new chaos. And every anniversary celebrated romantically under the same porch light with flowers, handwritten love notes, and quiet dances in the living room. Every single time I looked at Emily, whether she was laughing with our kids, cooking with my mom, reading a book across the room, or simply holding my hand, I remembered that fateful night she came back crying, choosing me again after everything. That night saved us both. As our children grew into teenagers and then responsible young adults, as life unfolded with all its many chapters, joys, sorrows, achievements, and lessons, I realized our story was much bigger than just a second chance. It was about the courage to forgive, the power of true love, and the wisdom that money and poverty don't decide love, the heart always does. And even decades later, As we sat together on that same beloved porch swing watching the sunset paint the sky in beautiful oranges and pinks, with gray hair and deep laugh lines etched on our faces, our grown children visiting often with their own families, I knew without any doubt that our love would echo beyond time itself. It was real. It was messy. It was imperfect in the most perfect way. And it was ours, forever. Subscribe for more heartfelt stories like this.